Okay, so let's get into this story because this is fascinating, folks. This is from the Post Millennial stating that Biden-Harris administration colluded with big tech companies and Justin Trudeau, our prime minister, to undermine the Canadian Freedom Truckers. There were meetings between DHS employees, Department of Homeland Security, where they were talking about leveraging Meta, Facebook, and Twitter to censor anybody discussing the Freedom Convoy. So while we're on the subject of, talking about interference, going back to the Russiagate conspiracy that I still see people, intertwining and trying to repeat parroted talking points from the State Department, even though it's all been debunked, or mentioning about China and the election interference here in Canada, or any interference. Why are we not just addressing the fact that democracy in any nation is always under attack by credences like this? Like, why are we kidding ourselves to point the finger at one specific person when we know democracy is just an absolute joke at this point because of all this interference? Because it goes on a daily basis. They consider this a Tuesday. That the United States, big tech companies, and other oligarchs are colluding with Justin Trudeau and their administration to silence half the world. Unbelievable. So, this is an article from David Cragen, who is an independent journalist and investigator. I highly recommend checking out his channel because there's a lot of great information on this. We should have him on the show at one point. Anyway, explosive Freedom of Information Act documents released to the gun owners of America, obtained by the Post Millennial, reveal how the Biden administration colluded with social media and conspired with the Trudeau government to deplatform and censor the protesting truckers of Canada's Freedom Convoy in 2022. The Freedom of Information Act request was filed by the Gun Owners of America with the Department of Homeland Security to see if they were being subject to any unwanted federal surveillance. The documents released by the DHS and first posted by Alamand Shooting Sports News revealed this interesting tidbit in an email from Samantha Vinegard to Robert Silvers. Next, it reads, I asked the INA about recent media reports about foreign accounts spreading to generating content associated with the Freedom Convoy. News about making Meta taking action to deplatform these accounts broke right before the meeting. INA had some feedback about its capabilities in this area, which I look forward to sharing with you. We discussed whether engaging with Meta and Twitter to share information convoy-related matters, inauthentic activity violating terms of service, would be prudent. We will circle back with INA on that tomorrow. CPB is supportive of the engagement, and so is CISA, which is the Canadian Intelligence Services. We agreed that we need to set up a formal structure of these analytic changes with which PLCY and OGC are working on. So there's the email there. The correspondence clearly indicates that the Biden administration was colluding with its social media partners to undermine or potentially deplatform members of the Freedom Convoy. Trucker and independent journalist Gord McGill spoke exclusively to the Post Millennial on Wednesday about what an interesting expose we have stumbled on. McGill has devoted his life to family and work and had little time for politics. The same could be said about most of the people who supported the Freedom Convoy of 2022 that warmed the heart of freedom during the frigid Ottawa February. That protest could be credited with rolling back many of the COVID mandates that now seem either quantitatively unnecessary or dangerously authoritarian. McGill participated in the protests and continues to write and talk about it. He's a regular contributor to Newsweek and was recently interviewed by Tucker Carlson on the topics of this protest. The Gun Owners of America are always muckraking through government documents to see what's down the pipe as far as gun control goes, because that's always an ongoing battle. And in one other Freedom of Information Act request, they were retrieved these documents regarding the Department of Homeland Security and this Disinformation Governance Board. Remember that? Remember they had to create a whole nother militarized department of government to silence people on social media? And then that went away, but it's okay because UK picked up the torch, as you can see. The Disinformation Governance Board was the notorious censorship vehicle briefly run by the polarizing Nina Jankowicz, who presented her exuberant appeal to redaction in a notorious TikTok video. Posted a TikTok as they tried to dismantle TikTok. Good job, guys. As if you scroll through the documents, it shows that there were meetings between DHS employees. They were talking about leveraging Meta, Facebook, and Twitter to censor anybody discussing the Freedom Convoy, and specifically using the allegations that disinformation about the Freedom Convoy was coming from the Americans' adversaries, which is to say that they were playing along with this completely false accusation that was first propagated by the CBC, no less. That the Freedom Convoy was financed and backed by Russian money. I still remember that. They were trying to pin this on Russia. Jesus Christ. Of which no evidence has been ever shown. And there's none of it here in these DHS documents. Of course, it was all an allegation. They just made allegations about it and then decide that based on these allegations, they should go to Twitter and Facebook to try and throttle Canadians' freedom of speech. Why? Because working class people saw through this and they were scared. They were petrified. The fact that truckers and ordinary Canadians got together to exercise their right of protest and their freedom of speech. McGill says he doesn't believe that the gun owners of America were looking for anything to do with the Freedom Convoy because that's not their area of concern. So it seems like this might be a little effort on part of the gun owners of America and a little bit of chance. Collusion between the DHS and social media platforms extended to a conspiracy between the Biden administration and the Trudeau government. On the same day that the DHS met to discuss censoring the Freedom Convoy, Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau met as shown in a White House briefing note on February 11, 2022 that reads, in turn, the Prime Minister thanked the President and his administration, the Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, and U.S. officials for all the assistance that the U.S. is providing to resolve this disruption. The two leaders agreed to stay in close touch in days ahead to ensure that the free flow of traffic is restored at these vital transit points. So that is in regard to the fact that the Freedom Convoy not only made a storm in Ottawa, but also shut down a lot of the border crossings. There was demonstrations going on the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls, but also the Ambassador Bridge from Windsor to Detroit. And when you close down those bridges and capitalism takes a turmoil because of these protests, that's when they got panicky. That's when they decide, oh my God, we're going to lose money on this. If we're going to lose money, we're going to lose business, we're going to lose, our horrendous post-capitalist society. We have to do something. We have to crack the heads of these people. We got to stop this from becoming influential. And it became influential. It was seen globally around the world, and a lot of other demonstrations in other countries took part of this. So they were horrified. Which is why Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, big tech companies, Department of Homeland Security, all these national, intelligence agencies got together and said, enough is enough. We're going to attack ordinary people. We're going to attack ordinary Canadians exercising their right and restrict them of their rights. Hence why they went after their bank accounts and they silenced people on social media and they arrested people. just just three that was just 3 days. So that email that I just read there, that was just 3 days before Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act on February 14th, 2022. I didn't even realize it was on Valentine's Day. Wow. Much love from the government. And crushed the Freedom Convoy with the full force of multiple police forces. McGill notes that the Canadian government received virtually no assistance from the US government in terms of logistical, military, or police support. No, they thought this all by themselves. They did not go to America that has brutalized its own citizens for a long time and said, hey, how can we do it here? Not at all. Not at all. This is all Canadian done. True patriot love that we invoke here. So they were trying to get tow trucks to come to Ottawa. They were calling companies in New York State and Vermont. They were calling companies in Montana and other American tow truck companies. Basically told them to pound sand or said our drivers aren't vaccinated, blowing off the request. McGill speculates it sure seems like the assistance that they were rendering as trying to compel Twitter and Facebook to block people's posting of their opinions. He says all that this proves that the dangers of Canada's freedoms are real and that the fight to preserve those freedoms is just beginning. So that is some powerful information, folks. That is this is a huge expose on just how lucrative this goes. That this goes beyond just Justin Trudeau. This goes just beyond any of his administrators, Chrystia Freeland or Theresa Tam, the health minister here in Canada. This is a global effort. And this proves exactly the point that I've been stating throughout all this. And I came to the conclusion, and I've stated to viewers and listeners of this, that regardless of who's in control of government, whether you vote for Justin Trudeau or Pierre Poilievre or Jagmeet Singh, and even to the American viewers out there, whether you vote Democrat or Republican, they're not running the country. They're basically a mascot. They do tricks and dances for the illusion that they are the leaders of the country. But the true people that are running all this are the nefarious ghouls who go over to Davos every so often. The people, the bankers, and and those people, they are truly running the show. They're truly dictating and running how things function. And going back to the great movie of the 1970s, Network, as that scene reminds us when he goes to sit in the boardroom, that there are no countries. They're just a handful of corporations and the rest of us. That's really what it is. That's all. It's those people that are dictating how countries form, how countries operate, how they stay in control, how to control people. And if anyone gets out of line, then stuff happens. And I'm not going to list the kind of stuff that happens because I know YouTube's going to have a cow if I mention any of those things. So I also want to show, this is the email. This is the original email discussing the meeting with DHS and social media accounts. So there's Samantha Vinograd to Robert Silvers. And the subject line, Disinformation Governance Board Steering Group. And it says, we are discussed, I'm just going to paraphrase here. We discussed future staffing needs for the board, Deputy Director, External Affairs, and asked for suggestions on details from participants in the tech sector. We asked about media reports about foreign accounts spreading or generating content associated with the Freedom Convoy. We're discussing engaging with Meta and Facebook and Twitter to share information related to the matters. So basically, they're blackmailing tech companies to give up information of users to intelligence so that they can dominate, take control of big tech companies and those users. Again, this is how disturbing the world operates. This is the evil collusion that's happening every single day, every single minute. And this goes far beyond Justin Trudeau, far beyond Chrystia Freeland, even though they're top representatives of the WEF. It's the WEF. It's the problem. It's the CIA. That's the problem. It's big pharmaceuticals. It's these global conglomerates that are forming together to do this kind of stuff, to blackmail, to obfuscate, to dictate on other countries, and they are the evil henchmen of the world. It's crazy. And as the quote says in the 1976 movie Network, you don't have countries, you just have corporations and the international transaction of money. That's all it really is. And this is just an example of it, that the entire Western Hemisphere pretty much gathered together to say, how are we going to silence these people? How are we going to eliminate their right of free speech and right of being able to protest these outrageous mandates that they know were completely inadequate, completely authoritarian, and go against the nature of science? How exactly are we going to stop this? How exactly are we going to demise people so that they can conform to our agenda? And this is the United States and Canada. I'm sure other countries have done similar things. It is just absolutely sickening. So good on Post Millennial for releasing this information. And David Craigan, the author of this article, again, go watch his channels on Rumble. It is really interesting that this is being finally addressed, because we all had assumptions, we all had predicaments that this was happening, but now proof is in the pudding. This is it.